Okay, at 6:30, I'm going to call the meeting of the Conservation Commission for April 21st to order. First order of business will be approval of the minutes for April 7th. Do I have a motion to
I'll make a
approve?
motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, new public hearing, 464 West Center Street, request for determination for proposed redesigned parking and stormwater upgrades, and that's you, Larry. I have to, let me read the notice. Under the Wetlands Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40, Mass General Law as amended, the West Bridgewater Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Rules, and Regulations, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on April 21st, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in the McDonald Brown Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, on a request for determination applicability at 464 West Center Street for relocation of existing parking and stormwater upgrade. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Larry Silva from Silver Engineering Associates, offices in 1615 Bedford Street, Bridgewater. And I'm here on behalf of Mr. Dempsey, owner of the property, and also the Di Bartolo Company, the warehouse developers, who had an agreement with Mr. Dempsey to basically make adjustments to his site once the road got relocated. I do have some small versions of the plan over there, and I'm going to show you what's proposed.
Carol, do you want to pass those down?
Yeah.
You guys, they have them on their computers, so they don't need that copy if more
okay.
people want to take a look at them.
Oh, that's fine. I always try to bring them, that's all. Okay, so, before Lincoln Street was relocated, this was the way that Dempsey's was laid out. The shaded areas where the parking was located, and this is where Lincoln Street was located. There was a total of 70 parking spaces to support his business. So in order to make him whole again, because of the relocation of Lincoln Street, and I should point out that there were no stormwater controls. Everything that ran off just ran off, and it came down in a southerly direction off the site, and then eventually this is the 100-foot buffer and the 50-foot. Everything was running just in a direction of the urban property for the most part. So, in order to make basically to restore 70 parking spaces, the light shading here is what was existing in terms of paving. Okay, and then the darker shade is what we've added to it in order to be able to get to the number of spaces that are needed in order to get back to what he had there before. It was kind of inefficient before because you only had like one-sided parking. By just a small little widening in certain areas, we're able to get two-sided loading in order to be able to make this work. It's very tight on West Center Street, as we all know that with all those improvements, this is much tighter up here. There's only just one handicap space going in here because of the handicap ramp, because this section of the building is at a different elevation than the rest of it. So you had to have handicap parking access on the top and then also for the lower level, which already existed here. The difference here is that we've added this parking, made it a little bit more streamlined, and that what we're doing is we're adding in the feature of collecting at the end of the parking lot here. We're adding into a sediment forebay, and then we're taking the flow out to a level spreader, which would be in this area here, and it will still continue in the same direction that water went before, but now at least there's some stormwater control where it didn't have it before. And keeping everything outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. There's just the drainage improvements that are in the 50 to 100. Everything else is kind of self-explanatory in terms of just the minor increases in pavement in order to be able to bring those parking spaces. And this is our New Lincoln Street layout. here, the original pavement was 19,650 square feet. Extended the pavement, the dock stuff is 7,580, and there's about 326 feet of retaining wall, which is in order to make this work.
So, Larry, is each business needs so many parking places, or is this just a function of the fact that he lost land and they
Because he
traded?
lost it. He was already an existing business.
Yeah.
He had that many, and in his deal with
Yeah.
the developer was that he wanted to be whole again. So by giving up what he gave up in order to have the road be relocated, he wanted to get his parking spaces
Sure.
back, and that's what this is for. And we went to the planning board last week. Planning board voted to approve it, subject to you guys looking at it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, definitely an improvement with the stormwater
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
controls.
Yeah, because I mean, it was just,
Sure.
because everything was
Running
running off to the south there. And this wetland in here is really, it was a man-made pond that was
Yeah.
over in this section over here. That there wasn't really true wetlands except for
Right.
further into the urban property, but in respecting that man-made pond, this is what we're doing.
Any questions, Carol?
I'm just wondering, so it's the pond that's gonna go into the water?
Eventually, the water all drains towards the pond.
Okay.
But this is, we're gonna now take out all sediment in here, and then the level spreader will be trying to infiltrate to the extent that it can, and then if not, then it goes off, not as a point discharge, which is always where you have more of a problem. It's more that it's sort of a more of a linear kind of discharge. So you don't get the kind of velocities, you just get sort of an overland kind of flow. This existing is like just sheet flow and pretty significant sheet flow that
Yeah.
way. This way here we're able to capture it, bring it in through and throttle it, so it goes in that direction.
So now are there any neighbors around this area?
Any what?
Neighbors? Or is it all wetland or?
The urban, Stanley Urban's property is still in the family, and that's a pretty extensive property there. Really, the only house that was there is the one that was his original house, which is further down. And then this was all kind of like it was like more like a park, is what he had. He did a nice job having a park there. He was a great guy. I did work with Stanley before he was on this.
And again, it's a man-made pond, but it's stocked, and so any improvement for runoff is a
Yeah.
plus.
It's a
I
plus.
mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, any questions?
No.
Am I in your way, Steve?
Nope,
He's
No,
sitting
no.
there, right?
And Tim,
Yeah,
you all
this is
set?
right here.
yep.
You're all set?
I'm all set with it. I've looked at it. The wetland line's fine.
Good. And members of the audience, anyone here for this particular hearing? Sure, go right ahead.
So what's across the street on Lincoln Street, is that an Amazon? Is that big cement block? Yet.
There's a warehouse building further down that was built on this side, and there's vacant land up on the top side. Opposite this is vacant land, and further down, Lincoln across is where the warehouse was built.
Okay. Do you have an understanding of the water runoff with that, like how that is affecting this?
We designed that,
Okay.
so I'm intimately familiar with how that other water's going. It doesn't affect this one at all.
Okay.
It's totally different. There is water from the relocated Lincoln Street that goes through the site. It does have some discharge into the warehouse site, but nothing related to this. This is all independent of it.
Okay.
No one else? Okay, I'll make a motion to close.
wait, I got-
Oh, in the back? Yes, I didn't see
Just
it,
real quick,
sorry.
Is there, how much of this entire project will the town absorb? Any cost of this through police details or absolutely nothing?
This is totally a private venture.
All right, just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Between the warehouse developer has an agreement with Dempsey to a dollar amount, and then if anything, if he wanted to do something beyond that, then it would be on him, but everything is pretty much being paid for by the warehouse.
Great, thank you.
And when is this all gonna start? Is there a start date?
I'm sorry?
Is there a start date to hear all this?
What was the question?
When's it starting? When's it proposed to start?
As soon as it's, if it's approved, that they're gonna get moving on it, because, you know, they pretty much got everything else done, so they're trying to get finished up with the site overall, because they can't apply, for finish on the project until this part of it is done as well, I think. I don't know if this one.
I'm not sure, but this might not totally hold it up.
No,
but
this one doesn't
it's-
hold that,
yeah.
that part of it up,
Yeah.
but because there's this overlap in the middle here, they just wanna make sure everything gets done.
Question. Adjacent to the property, we're on the right. There's a stone wall going up there by the road?
On the right.
Yeah,
On the right.
we're at 448.
Oh, you're talking, okay, you're talking about on the left, looking from the street, this way?
Yes, right.
Yeah,
Right
okay,
there.
over here, there's a stone swale
Yeah.
that's taking the water, so it directs it into this property, not to that property. So it collects that and takes it down, so it goes downhill and finds its way behind the building going that direction. And the only activity that's going on over here is this little shaded area, they have one handicap parking space.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's the only thing that's going on there. Everything else was the existing was all in here. But that, in here, there was enough to put in the parking space and enough to turn around, to get
Yeah.
in and out of the parking space.
Are they gonna be removing the trees?
Well, there has to be removal of the vegetation that's adjacent to the building here in order to
Okay.
construct that.
Yeah.
But only to the distance back. There's a proposed block wall on the back side of that parking space.
Yep.
That's the limit of where anything would be actually removed.
Okay.
We're trying not to remove anything we don't have to.
Right. That's fine. Thank you.
Tim, do we have anything to say about the tree removal?
No, to get that parking spot in, what's there isn't, it's not a valuable amount of vegetation.
Yeah,
It
and that was
kind of-
pretty far away from,
Right,
I mean, that's like hundreds of feet from.
and it's not gonna affect the stormwater or runoff or
No,
anything,
no.
and that's why that stone swale is there.
No swales
to-
there, just, yeah, to collect that small amount right there.
Are they gonna be putting a fence up along that property line?
We don't show it as proposed for there, I mean, that's really, that would be Dempsey's call if he wanted to put a fence, but it's not, as part of this is replacing of the parking. He never mentioned anything about wanting to put
Yeah.
a fence
well,
along that
Just a
stretch.
question.
Yeah.
So would be Howard's bill to pay for the fence, or would the contractor's bill?
Fencing was not part of the contractor, it would be up to Dempsey if he wanted to put something there.
Yeah.
But it wa, cause this is to deal with the loss of the parking,
Yeah.
replacing the parking.
All right.
Well, if there are no more questions, I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll make a motion to issue a -3 determination with conditions.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much.
All set.
Thank you.
Just quickly, I know we made what were the conditions, though?
The only condition I had on it was that the stormwater controls have to be in place before construction starts.
Okay, thank you.
So sequencing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
That's
All right. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you so much. It's nice to actually go to a public hearing where there's a lot of people and they're not here for my project. But thank you all for coming out and participating, I appreciate it.
I can't.
You did, but I'm saying it's a big project. Thank you so much.
We don't have a,
There should be one for Copeland. Zero Copeland?
let's see.
Yes.
I'm here for Copeland.
This is a,
Yeah. This one is the next one.
okay, I was looking for the address. Okay. All right, so our next hearing is for 0 Copeland Street, and I'll read this into the record. Under the Wetlands Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40, Mass General Laws as amended, and the West Bridgewater Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Rules and Regulations, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing in the McDonald Brown Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, through both remote participation and in person on April 21st, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation seeking confirmation of wetland resources identified under the Wetlands Protection Act. And do we have?
Kevin, you should be able to share if you want,
I will give it a shot.
and if not, I do have it and can pull up the plan.
Okay. So for the
Everybody
audience,
see my
this is the engineer on the project.
Yep, it's up.
Okay. Just a quick introduction. My name is Kevin Davis. I'm a professional engineer for ET Engineering. Today we're representing Allison Rodriguez at a location off of Copeland Street, identified at the Assessor's Map 18, lots 90 and 91, and Assessor's Map 25, lots 33 and 39. The existing area is a vacant lot consisting of 352,600 square feet of total land area, 127,200 square feet of upland, and 225,400 square feet of wetlands. On this particular property, there is an existing, I'll try to zoom in here, existing gravel driveway going off of Copeland Street that comes down, crosses the Cotis Brook on an existing wooden bridge and comes to this existing gravel area right here. There are a few resources on the property. The first resource, which is the one we're particularly interested in, is on the northwesterly side of the property where this gravel area is. This was all delineated by Brad Holmes of Environmental Consulting and Restoration LLC. There is also obviously the Cotis Brook, which runs easterly then southerly through the property. There is a second resource area to the southeast. This entire area that abuts our area of concern, but an additional line was delineated on the southeast end of the property. We're not really interested in doing anything over there. That's really not part of the property or part of the project, but we're showing that for the benefit of the commission in case there were any questions. The current ask of the commission is just to confirm the existing wetlands on site. We're not looking to do anything extravagant, no subdivisions, just a simple single-family home on the property is ultimately the goal, depending obviously on where these wetland lines are finalized. Now I understand, Tim, that you and Brad Holmes are planning to have a couple conversations about the exact location of a few resource areas. So I can't speak to that conversation, but more than happy to take any questions or concerns with this property and keep this an open dialogue.
Do you have some?
So I can give my report on it. The flags to the northern section where it narrows, I have some questions. It looks like there's previously disturbed fill in some areas. It looks like in that area the wetland line actually follows the contour more of 79 and 81's elevation, and it kind of wraps in pretty close to the road in some spots, or the access road. And so I want to have Brad look at those again, and then around B12, B11, closer to the brook on the backside, southerly in that area, I have some questions.
Those are
But-
wetland flags, if you folks aren't familiar with that, and they're all numbered.
And so I'll just, so that the audience knows that when these developers come in, they just want the wetland line defined, so then they can figure out where to put their septic system, houses, anything else on the site. The commission does look at the previously disturbed area a little differently than virgin forest or virgin wetland areas that have never been disturbed. But there still is the 50-foot buffer that comes into play. But they do get a little bit more leeway in some of that, depending on what gets developed and how they develop it.
So in
And
order,
Tim, if I may add, we're
Yep.
also planning on, after this, filing for a notice of intent, which will be back before the commission with the actual project and what we're planning to do.
Okay, because of the fact you haven't walked it yet, you want to continue?
Well, I have walked it, but I have questions that I have to meet with Brad to go over his delineation and mine and come to an agreement on
So
where the
we
line
want to
actually-
continue to the 5th.
So my recommendation is to continue to the 5th, and by then Brad and I should be able to.
Any questions from the audience?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
What is the classification of that river as far as, perennial river, or what would you call that stream going through there?
I believe it is a perennial stream. I can get confirmation on that, but my information says perennial stream. Tim, I don't know if you have.
I've also seen it come up as intermittent, and I believe DEP actually had it as intermittent. It has typically gone dry in different
Okay.
sections on a regular basis. There are a number of wetland marshy areas in between, but between areas it does dry out at times.
So that would continue to have, would that be a 200-foot distance as a minimum to put any septic from that river? We live on that river, I have property that goes to that river. Would that would mean 200 feet from
Right, so they'd have to be 100
the
feet.
south bank?
Right. 200 feet jurisdiction, 100 feet would be regulated if it ends up being a perennial stream.
Right.
If it's intermittent, then it falls to either the wetland line or the 50-foot buffer.
Mm.
They still have to be above the water table to protect that as well.
Are we talking about combining lots in here as well before this project, or is this
That is the current proposal, yes.
to combine all
All four lots
into
into one.
All, yeah, map 18, lot 90, map 25, lot 91, map 25, lot 33, and map 25, lot 39.
Now, are we planning on clearing this whole lot to build this house? And what are we talking about doing back there?
Well, once the line's determined, we would create an acceptable limit of clearing, and that would be at the notice of intent hearing. We'd have more specifics as to how much upland clearing would be required.
I just asked, my main concern is this possibly opening a road into the properties back there, which would eventually wind up into more expansion behind all of our houses. That's, I think that's one of
Basically,
a
it
lot
would
of
be
people's
a
concern.
single-family home driveway. There's significant wetlands, like you showed on the plan, that were to the east of the main gravel lot
Right.
that's there. And so to use that, they have no options to use it, so it would have to be protected.
Okay.
And so it really could never be developed more than a single-family home.
Understood.
I just want to be clear, so the combined 4 lots will be utilized for one home?
Yes. I believe that's your intent, right, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
All right. I have no more questions. I'm going to entertain a motion to continue this hearing to the 5th of May.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you all very much. When was the next meeting? I'm sorry.
It would be
The
May
5th.
5th.
May
May
5th.
Is this the notification of that, or will there
Thank
be
you all.
additional notifications, anything related to this project?
So the May 5th meeting will basically certify the wetland line. Then you will all get another notice of a public hearing for notice of intent and a stormwater permit for a single-family house.
Okay, thank you.
So you'll eventually get another set, and you'll, welcome to come all back again and see what the actual project will
Yeah.
entail.
So next week, we're just going to wrap up an agreement on the wetland lines, the
Oh.
delineation. All right, next up is
And you're all
0.
welcome to stay if you want, or you're welcome to get up and leave.
Yeah. It's totally up to you folks, yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. That's fine. Gonna stand? Huh?
Now that we cleared the room a little.
All set?
You wanna
Huh?
read it in?
All right, this next hearing is 0 Matfield Street for notice of intent and general stormwater management permit for construction of a contractor's storage yard, and I will read it into the record. Under the Wetlands Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40, Mass General Laws as amended, the West Bridgewater Wetlands Protection Bylaws and Rules and Regulations, the West Bridgewater Construction Phase Stormwater Management and Soil Erosion Control Bylaw, and the West Bridgewater Comprehensive Stormwater Management Regulations, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on April 21st, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in the McDonald Brown Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, on a notice of intent and general stormwater permit at 0 Matfield Street for construction of a contractor's storage yard. And you're on.
For the record, I'm Tracy Duarte. I'm the Director of Engineering at MBL Land Development with offices at 5 Bristol Drive in Southeaston. I'm here with Lou Tarantino of LJDE LLC, who's the applicant. So we're here for notice of intent for a proposed contractor's yard at 0 Matfield Street. So to give you a general idea of where the property is located, it's actually abutting the Brockton line. Oh, we won't be able to see most too well over the, maybe a little. So this is Oak Hill Way in Brockton. So even though the site has an address of 0 Matfield Street's over half a mile south of here. The site would be accessed through Oak Hill Way in Brockton, and the property itself is actually 29 acres in Brockton and 8 acres in West Bridgewater. It's abutted to the west by property owned by the town of West Bridgewater, as well as to the south and to the right. This is the Fall River New Bedford rail line. So some permitting history with the site on the West Bridgewater end. Previously there was a development that was proposed in Brockton, and as part of that development there was one drainage basin that was proposed in the West Bridgewater portion of the property that obtained a notice of intent. And that has subsequently been amended and extended, but that notice of intent is actually still valid, or that order of conditions is still valid in West Bridgewater. We've received a zoning board of appeals special permit for the use to allow a contractor's yard in a general residential and farming district. And we are currently in the process of permitting with planning board as well for site plan approval. So this is our existing conditions plan of the West Bridgewater portion of the site, that 8 acres. So that's the Brockton town line up top. There's a 150-foot wide electric easement, Eastern Edison easement, that runs through the property here. And half of the property is also located within a Zone 2 Aquifer Protection District. So this is the line, and to the south is what's located in the Zone 2. And the entirety of the project is also located within the West Bridgewater Aquifer Protection District. There's IVW located in the Brockton parcel that the buffer zone extends into West Bridgewater, and this is the one that was approved with the order of conditions for the basin that was proposed right around here. Since then, we've also had 2 IVWs delineated by Brad Holmes of Environmental Consulting and Restoration down in the southeastern and southwestern corners of the site. So to give you like an overview of what's proposed overall, in Brockton, Lou has a 20,000 square foot, this is going to be like the new home office of his EOMS Recycling, his corporate office building. That's going to go in Brockton, and just as previously proposed, a portion of that development, that one basin that was previously proposed, is being proposed now in West Bridgewater to handle some of the flows from Brockton. In the West Bridgewater side, he's proposing a few contractor storage yard areas. There's a couple smaller ones here, and then a larger one on the other side of the electric easement here. And there are 3 proposed basins associated with that. Those storage areas are gonna be paved, they're gonna have curbing, and a stormwater management system that we'll go into more detail on. That's just to give you an overall view of the whole site. So here's the site layout blown up. We have the smaller, the 12,000 and 7,000 square foot storage areas, and the larger 77,000 square foot one on the other side of the easement. And then you can see the 2 outlines of the proposed drainage basins. Both of those basins are located so that their spillways are still outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. Here's the grading and drainage plan so you can get an idea of the grading for the site. So pretty much the high point is right around the electric easement, and it will flow in one of 2 directions, get collected in deep sump hooded catch basins that will provide some water quality. Then they'll flow to manholes and then into a sediment forebay prior to going into one of those 3 infiltration basins. So all of those basins are going to handle the treated runoff and infiltrate under the maximum right about the 100-year storm. And then there's overflow spillways, like I said, just outside of that 50-foot buffer zone. And this is just the erosion and sedimentation control plan showing where we have some stockpile locations. We're proposing perimeter sediment controls around the limits of the site, proposing filter mat erosion controls. The site's pretty much already cleared actually, so the only clearing, which I should have probably went over, is a little bit right over here just for the down gradient side of the basin spillway. The tree line is shown if you look on the plans up close, so very minimal tree clearing associated with that. That's pretty much it for my summary. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
So I can give my wetland report to start with. I did check the lines. I'm okay with them.
Okay.
They all match. I will say the one closest to the railroad line that is labeled potential vernal pool,
Yeah.
I think it's just a wet area. I couldn't see any life in that pond at all. I will say the one to the south had a couple of frogs and it had 2 turtles in it. Couldn't get a picture, they moved too quick on me, but it does, that one may function as a vernal pool. My recommendation might be to see if we could move that stormwater structure as far away as possible. I know you're at 50 foot, but if you could give it any more buffer. I know it's within the easement for the utility, but some of it does fall outside of it, and any protection would be appreciated.
Tim, where's the vernal pool?
So,
The vernal pool, where is it?
Water.
yeah, there's,
Yeah.
on their plans, they had 2 potential vernal pools. The one,
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
So
where her
right over
cursor
here
is.
within
Oh,
this
there,
isolated
okay.
wetland, and one over here show up as potential. So the vernal pool habitat area and the Wetlands Protection Act stops at the limit of the wetlands that the local bylaw does.
it is all paved, or is there a combination of paved and gravel?
No, it was switched as we were going through the zoning board process. So originally, when we started this a few years ago, the bottom area was gonna be gravel, but, there was concerns about stormwater and treatment being in the aquifer, so we were asked to do pavement. So everything's
Okay.
pavement going into the treatment system.
All right.
Where is the treatment system proposed?
So there's 3. So a portion of this area goes into a catch basin, to a forebay, and then to this basin.
Okay,
There's a catch basin right here that'll catch this portion right here.
okay,
Same thing into a sediment forebay into a basin. So we're going to get that 44% pretreatment before the 80% in the infiltration basin.
okay.
And then this top area here, there's catch basins, and then same thing, sediment forebay and basin. This again is to handle the Brockton flows, but it is in West Bridgewater, and that's designed the same thing, deep sump catch basin, sediment forebay basin. This one is designed using the previously approved infiltration rates and groundwater.
Okay.
So that's gonna be where my concern comes in, because the previously approved, we're pulling that all out. The process for that, West Bridgewater reviewed and used all the calculations for the Brockton project. I know that project has changed and the footprint's changed, so to have all that stormwater, we just need the calculations for the Brockton side
Okay,
to make sure
send
we
me
know
that.
where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Cause if it's not sized right,
Yeah, so, yeah.
It's
that's
not
what-
gonna
that's
function
closed
and we're
then
gonna
than
be
what was
getting the
originally,
water.
But we can send you that drainage report, and Brockton is sending for peer review as well. Yep.
The other questions I had, if you go back a few slides, one, the first slide you showed had a different DEP number to be closed out. I believe it was just a typo.
Oh,
It had the
maybe
Brockton DEP number, not the West Bridgewater
And
one.
that was just me doing my presentation, but I have
Okay,
the-
that's what I figured, but
I have that letter with me. I can confirm it with you, I'm sorry. But yeah, we were closing out the West Bridgewater just because,
now are you closing the Brockton one as well,
We
or
are.
amending it?
nope, we're closing it out, just because the scope of work has changed so
Yep.
much. It's easier to just close it out and get a fresh notice of intent for all the work.
Right.
So I have, 328, 729.
Yes.
Thank you, sorry.
So,
Only because I know this goes way back to the composting facility that was in West Bridgewater that started this whole project. The Brockton side on the plans, it only shows the new corporate office space, a pad for future use, and it's listed as a repair maintenance facility, I believe, on the Brockton plans. Is the composting still gonna be there? Is it, I mean, it's not on the plans, so, but it's still, drainage is coming our direction, so if it's there, I know.
Yeah,
The-
to be honest, it's up in the air. It was
Okay.
something to do, labor of love. I mean, we'd like to do it, but it may get voted down with a future building or.
Right, 'cause
something,
I just
so,
wanted to make sure we kind of looked at the big picture, stormwater wise,
Yeah.
and where, or what more we might be seeing in West Bridgewater if there was expansion, so that we could kind of look at that ahead of time and address it and have a, but as long as we have the calculations for what you're proposing, we'll be,
so all this is hinging really on Brockton approval first, unless you have it.
Well, everything except for that. I mean,
Yeah,
that
basically
pond
it's
is for
that
Brockton. The rest
structure.
of this is kind of separate from the Brockton site and has its own separate stormwater management system.
So you can, as long as you can access through the other.
You could drive through a site
That,
right now.
that's
so,
no
yeah.
problem, yeah, okay. Any questions from the audience?
Are we looking at a tree replication at all?
there's really, it's a
No.
cleared site already.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just a gravel lot devoid of almost all vegetation.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Okay.
think back to that. It's probably have to.
Yeah, with the there's
Yeah,
very.
there it is.
Yeah, very little,
Yeah.
yeah.
already cleared.
yeah. it's-
Yes,
What is the actual, access? I think I missed that part. I know there's a bunch of different ways in there, but what will be the access points?
There's, I think, only one way in there through the very end of Oak Hill Way in Brockton.
Right,
The road dead ends on his property.
okay,
So he's proposing a driveway to tie into the end of the road.
cool. Just making sure it wasn't blasting through the woods over there.
No.
Nope. No, and that driveway was already installed through his existing permits in Brockton.
yeah. Okay, well, our next step is peer review,
Right, I'm gonna recommend a 53G
right,
for the stormwater calculations.
okay? So I'm gonna entertain a motion to hire a 53G to review these plans. If I could get a motion to approve.
I so move.
Steve,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I guess we're gonna go to the 19th?
Well, that's my question,
Yeah.
because you're not before the planning board. We normally generally
waiting
use the
on-
same peer reviewer, make it easier on the applicants.
That would be good.
Knowing that you haven't even set a date or a hearing before the planning board, I figured May 5th probably wasn't a real date.
So if it's okay to go to the second one out, and if.
To go to the
if
19th,
we're not ready
then-
at that time, we'll let you know and continue again,
Okay,
if that's
So-
all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go
So-
for 5:19 for now.
May 19th would be my
All right,
recommendation.
so I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to May 19.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
There is one other item, administrative in nature.
Right, we
Yes.
figured we do close out the,
Okay.
Yeah. we'll close off the issue of certificate of compliance. That was a request for work, I can't even read the certificate of compliance for work regulated by the OOC was never started.
Right.
Yeah.
They never started the project in West Bridgewater, therefore, to just administratively close it out and make it go away.
So the
So
certificate of
Yeah,
compliance.
it's a certificate of compliance stating that it never happened.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to issue that certificate.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
All right,
Have a
thank
good
you.
night.
We'll see you on the 19th. All right, we're into the continued public hearings. This is for 0 Samuel Ave and 0 Brooks Place, a request for abbreviated notice of resource area delineation and for confirmation of wetland resources under the Wetland Protection Act. I'm gonna hook it up again.
There we go. You should be able to share your screen.
Okay, perfect. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep, it's up.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hello, my name is Sophia Zion. I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting, representing the applicant Parallel Products Solar Energy for the AMRAD for Brooks Place and Samuel Ave. So since the previous hearing on December 16th, I believe, we've made a few updates to the plans. This included adding the stream flags of the intermittent stream known as Black Betty Brook, as well as extending the wetland shown on the plan towards the eastern property boundary. And I'll show the black and white plans that show this a bit better as well. We also visited the site last week with Tim and reviewed the entirety of the wetland lines and addressed concerns. This included revisions of 3 wetland flags, which I'll get into in a bit. So just as a recap, we delineated the eastern boundary of a quite substantial bordering vegetated wetland. On site, the eastern boundary was delineated with GCA 1 to GCA 300, and the western and southern boundary was delineated with flag series GCJ 1 to GCJ 155. The western boundary of the intermittent stream was delineated with flag series GCSB 1 to 115, and the western boundary with GCSA 1 to 115. So this is the Samuel Ave parcel portion of the delineation. The wetland is shown in this light blue color, the 50-foot no alteration zone is shown in the green, and the 100-foot buffer zone is shown in the light orange. So this is the westernmost portion of the Samuel Ave parcel, and then the Brooks Place parcel to the west of the site. So this is the GCJ series, and then this is the GCA series. And then the intermittent stream flows in between these wetlands. So here is the black and white version. So a few flag revisions that we made included GCA 43, which we reviewed and confirmed with him in the field. Let me just pan over to that. So here's flag GCA 43. It was previously a bit lower, somewhat in line with GCA 42. We bumped it out a bit to incorporate a small patch of wet area with hydric soils and wet veg in this area. The second flag that we made revisions to was GCA 160. Let me just pull that up. So that was GCA 160 right in here. It was previously out a bit farther, so we bumped it back a bit to also incorporate an area of hydric soils and wet veg as agreed upon with Ken as well. And the final revision was GCJ 141. that was a bump out here as well for GCJ 141. And each of these revisions were confirmed in the field with Tim, and we agreed upon a location on to where to revise these flagging locations. So I'd be happy to answer any questions from the commission at this point.
I don't have any since you've been out there.
Yeah,
And
and I will say
agreed.
the vegetation in some spots was deceiving.
Was
'Cause
it?
you'd think it was a wetland area, but the soils
Said
didn't say-
otherwise.
Said otherwise, so,
Yeah, yeah.
It took a while to get it done.
It's a complicated piece of property, but
It's
it looks
a
like
large piece of property,
Yeah, how many acres?
but I have no more issues.
154 acres
Wow.
in size,
That is big.
between the two parcels.
Steve, any questions?
No.
Carol?
So all we're looking at is the wetland
Audience?
delineation.
I'd like to know the process for which we'll seek an independent environmental review. We will be, my name is Lance Robson. I reside at 160 Samuel Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
I am the guy that's proposed to be in the middle of the frying pan. As you've seen, they are very gross representation of their intent. I question whether or not this committee will also address the heat island effect, what we call a photovoltaic heat island effect, and address those concerns as well. Not only in the wildlife, I'm a bit of a wild man, and I lived there for 31 years.
Yeah.
It's not just about animals. I will point out to Mr. Hay, well familiar with the property, having lived there so long, there's some beautiful salamanders right by the natural spring that exists about 150 feet off my back corner of my property there. That's a year-round natural spring, turtles, salamanders, all the time there. So I know there's more than just wetland issues here, but there is a wildlife concern as well.
Right, so I can address some of this in the fact that this process is only looking at the wetland line.
Right. At
I
this
know that
point.
there will be some state review as well. I've received word from Department of Fish and Wildlife that they have some concerns with the potential project. We don't have anything other than a wetland line before us right now. I know that there is, before the zoning board, I believe, a solar project proposed. That hasn't come formally before us yet. When it does, we will have the wetland concerns, the wildlife concerns, the stormwater concerns, the loss of forested area, to take those all into considerations, the loss of agricultural fields to look at as well. So once that notice of intent phase moves forward, there will be a bunch of other concerns that will be.
Well, it would be my intent to challenge every professional that they bring in to represent this project, and I want to make sure
Well,
that I have that opportunity.
it's an interesting question because you've checked it along with their engineer, and if an individual challenges it, they could do it.
They can
I'm
appeal.
sure.
Yes, I mean,
At
but
whose
again, it's,
expense is the question?
Excuse me?
At whose expense would be the question?
Well, I'm prepared for my own legal fees and my own.
You know, if you
consultants.
brought in your own
I'm
person.
prepared, I understand that I would have to pay for my own consultants.
but if, I mean, if the wetland line, everybody feels okay approving that it is the wetland line,
Right.
then it's what the plan shows, which we don't know what they potentially want to do and where they want to do it.
Were you aware, sir, of the previous delineation of wetlands that's been done through the planning board and this?
I did
commission?
look at some of the previous, for the potential development of a subdivision that was going in.
That's correct.
And when I did look at those versus what was on the ground, it looks like the delineation that was done for that was just done by satellite imagery and not flagging on the ground. I couldn't find any previous flags in the parcel that's basically the Brooks Road parcel.
Yeah.
There were no flags there. I found other pre-existing flags on the Samuel Ave side in certain spots. And a lot of them were within margin of error. Some of them we moved, we adjusted. Some of them benefited the applicant. Some of them benefited the environment. So that when it was done, things were, that side would look like professionally somebody had walked it. The other side, I think they just looked at satellite imagery
No,
and said,
that-
that kinda looks where
The
it was.
professor out of Bridgewater State, I don't remember the name, the old guy out of Bridgewater State, he did it twice. Welch as well as Etchin. And then there was a previous history of it. So that's been done at least 3 times in the last 30 years, full flags.
Yeah, I had
Um,
2 reports
records
that
exist for that.
showed them, but I walked the line pretty extensively, and I couldn't, and I crisscrossed it back and forth a number of ways, and on the Brooks Place side, I could not find any pre-existing flags.
I'm more
And
familiar
from
with it.
2019, there were still flags, on some of the spots on the other side. So I felt pretty confident that they had matched it pretty close. A couple of them that we moved were because the flags were still there, and it made me question more what was there.
So our concerns of salamanders and turtles will yet be heard in addition to this, besides our wildlife.
Later on, that's
Later
right,
on.
yeah.
I'm trying to understand the process whereby the proponent proposes something like this, where they're putting a road in. This is a road between 2 parcels off of a private way, where they have no right to put a road in, where they have, frontage. So I'm still trying to understand how we're entertaining this when they don't have a right of access to put a road in. So that is a
To
bit of a
reach their
confusing-
property though?
That would go to the zoning and
Yeah,
in the site plan review
Right.
stage.
right. Which isn't us. We're just
Yeah, I'm
interested.
trying to understand how we get to this point where we're taking our time to do this effort on a project that shouldn't be permitted to begin with.
Right, and that's why we generally tell applicants, try to run everything simultaneously together so that we all get the feedback from all the boards and committees at once. I was in a way surprised when I heard that they did go before the ZBA with this plan, because the wetland line hadn't been approved. So they were basing that application on a plan that really wasn't set in stone yet. So,
It's really gross.
so until this
Wait till you see
completed
it, it's gross.
plan is done, I mean, it was, I thought, a little ahead of where they needed to be, but.
Right. So the question before us now is, are we accepting the delineation, or if you're going to appeal it, then I'm not sure what the process, if you can even appeal
Well,
it.
he has a 21-day window
Okay.
to do it.
So how do I go about that?
And so that would be through DEP. There's an appeal process that they have. I mean, you can appeal our decision if you think that directly to the commission, but then DEP has the final word.
So
So we would close the hearing if we accept what's
Right.
been done. It would be closed, but you would appeal through
Right.
the DEP.
So I have to appeal to the DEP, and how do I refer to that appeal properly?
We'd have a file number, I suppose.
Right,
or-
it would be the permit number, which for us would be DEP file SE for Southeast, and then it's 328-0875 is the ANRAD plan.
S is in Sam, right?
Right, E is
Right,
an
E,
echo.
Okay. So it's appeal to the DEP against your decision or against the
Right,
delineation?
against that you
Your-
feel our decision to approve the wetland line is wrong, and that the wetland line would be inaccurate.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'm gonna close this hearing. I'm gonna entertain a motion to close the hearing because we accept the line as the commission. So I'm gonna ask for a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm gonna entertain a motion to issue an order of resource area delineation, which is what we've agreed to. Motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we've made the decision, you're going to appeal through the DEP. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I meant to ask if anyone else had questions. But, done. For now. Okay. next, scheduled hearing is 194 South Main Street, which I understand there's a request to continue.
194 South Main is asked to continue to the May 5th meeting, so they have time to respond to the 53G review comments.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing till May 5th.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's see, 0 Bryant Street has been, the applicant has asked to continue the hearing till 5/5. Did we ever?
And again, we don't have any plans back yet, but the engineer has told me he is working on a redesign so that they can come off of Bryant Street and meet all the stormwater requirements with a dry basin, not a wet basin.
Oh,
So it looks like they looked at the engineering again and it can
off
work.
Bryant Street.
Off of Bryant. So that he would use his 2 previously approved lots off of South Street and not have to go into the 50-foot buffer with a new road.
So Bryant Street is through the wetlands, is that right?
No, that has no wetland crossing.
This is the opposite?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, are you folks here for that by any chance, 0 Bryant? No? Okay, so I'm gonna entertain a motion to continue 0 Bryant Street to May 5th.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And we already dealt with the Oak Hill Way certificate of compliance.
Yep, we got some things to sign.
And
No
that-
more hearings tonight,
Nope.
so I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.